Kadosh Boker Or Bekiim Bahalacha, day 24. This is Siman Mem Zayin 47, and it's Halacha Vav. Alomet Torah Shebal Peh. Okay, so it comes over here like this. If someone is going to read the text of the oral Torah, meaning Torah Shebal Peh, which is going to be Mishnah, Gemara, Halacha, without understanding what he's reading, okay, so it's not considered Torah study at all. You're a tuki. You're just but you don't understand a word that you're doing. Nothing. If someone reads the text of written Torah without understanding it, it is considered Torah study. Okay, so that means Torah shebichtav, which is a written Torah, even if you don't understand a word, it's considered studying. But Torah shebal peh, it's only if you understand. And the same applies to the study of Zohar. Okay? Therefore, it is forbidden for anyone to read the text before reciting the blessing over mitzvah of Torah study, even though he doesn't understand what he's saying. So אפילו אם לא מבין, זה לא משנה, בגלל זה עדיין תורה study, אז אסור לו לקרוא את זה. Yeah? So 66, look in 66. Reading Torah text without understanding. Rav Zalman, right, rule that if someone reads a text of oral Torah without understanding, it is not considered an act of Torah study whatsoever. In contrast, if someone reads a text of written Torah, then even if he doesn't understand it, he does fulfill the mitzvah. For this reason, even someone that's completely ignorant of Torah must still say Birkat Torah in the morning before saying any psukim of the Torah, right? And he may recite the blessings before and after the public Torah reading, even though he doesn't understand. So how do you make a bracha? How do you make a bracha if you go up to the Torah if you don't understand? The answer is, right? Even if you don't understand anything, still you get the mitzvah. So you make the bracha before and after. Yeah. The Magen Avraham is quoted by the Mishabra. The rules also the same thing, that when someone recites the chapter of Ezeu Mekoman or the Braita of Rabbi Shmuel, right? It counts as Torah study only if he understands what he's saying. But otherwise, he accomplishes nothing by saying all those things. Maran Nishol ruled that if someone who is a firstborn recited an entire tractate without comprehension, he cannot celebrate a siyum of that the thing on Erev Pesach in order to exempt himself from fasting that day. He based this ruling on the Magen Avraham said it here. You understood? Meaning, imagine you want to do right now Ta'anit Bechorot. So you want to do a Siyum Masechet, right before Pesach. It doesn't help if you don't understand. Wow. Right? Because you don't understand. He then qualified this ruling, citing that Rav Chida will explain that if someone read the Mishnah and understood what each word means, it is sufficient even though he does not understand the subject matter. Meaning, as long as you understood, but even if you don't understand Mamash, the entire subject, but you understand the words, you're going to be okay. And the Rishon LeZion emphasized that anyone who's capable of understanding the material but doesn't bother, right, is guilty of improperly serving Hashem. So that means, Tachshov, you could learn it, but stop, you're no, it's mamash. You're guilty of serving Hashem the way that you're serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? This applies to the Mishnah, Talmud, and Halacha, right? And regarding the Zohar HaKadosh, that Rav Chida comes and he declared that simply reading its text has the power to brighten one's soul. So Zohar is different. Shafilim ato lo mevin klum, even if you don't understand anything. בדיוק. Yeah? He related. Yeah. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, just some to read, even if they don't understand. He related that Oziel once instructed a former sinner to recite 5 pages of Zohar every single day, and even if he doesn't understand it at all. So you see from here that Oziel said that the tikkun was 5 pages of Zohar. He doesn't understand anything. Doesn't matter. In Moreh Be'etzba, that Rav Chida also added that the reciting the Zohar is the most exalted form of Torah study, even if the reader does not understand a word. And even if he pronounces the words incorrectly, by reciting the text, he brings about an incredible rectification for the soul. Although the entire Torah is a kol gemuret of Hashem's names, and all other Torah texts disguises the names of Hashem and the stories in the halachot, and the reader concentrates just on the simple meanings of it, but when someone reads the Zohar, however, he is fully aware that the secret knowledge and that this is a deep mystical wisdom in the Torah, although he does not comprehend what he's reading. Right? And Rav Chaim Falache also says, in the name of the Kabbalist, teaching that when someone learns the Mishnah, he must comprehend, what he's reading, but when reciting the passages of the Zohar, Hashem accepts it even if the reader does not comprehend it, whatsoever. So you keep on seeing the same thing, that Zohar HaKadosh is different, right, than all other types of things, obviously. Understand?
Can I become Mekubal if I start reading Zohar? Huh?
So based on this, yeah, you're going to be Baba Lahmi. Yeah? So he says, Baba Haim. So he says, based on this, Maran Rishon LeZion concluded that if a firstborn man reads the entire Zohar, completing in the day before Pesach, he can make a siyum. No problem. Because again, if you're going to be Yotzei Chovah Limud Torah by Zohar, even if you don't understand, so Tani Bechorot, right? Erev Pesach, you could do it, no problem. Based on this discussion, if someone wishes to recite passages from Torah Shebal Peh without paying attention to the meaning, it's not necessary to say Birkat Torah, because it's basically just stam, you're just reading, but you're not actually learning. If he at least understands the words, so then you would have to say Birkat Torah. If someone wishes to say the Torah Shebichtav or the Zohar, he has to say Birkat Torah, even though he doesn't understand anything. The Piskei Teshuvot Paskins regarding the study of written Torah, the Mishnah, Talmud, one must first recite the blessings even if he does not understand what he's saying. At face value, this is an erroneous ruling. After studying the author's footnotes, though, one can understand that the final phrase applies only to the written Torah. Even so, the author mistakenly gave the readers the impression that he disagreed with the Magen Avraham. Okay, just
would you be allowed to do a siyum? Let's say you finish the Zohar. Can you do a siyum if you didn't?
Mahari Mulin and the Halacha Brura. The Halacha Brura rule that it is necessary to say Birkat Torah even if one intends to read the Torah Shebal Peh without understanding it. And this is based upon the Mahari Mulin. Nevertheless, the Halacha Brura failed to add that in such a case, a person must make sure to say Birkat Kohanim immediately after following it to ensure there's not a Beracha Levatala. As we just said in the name of the Magen Avraham and others, that it would be a Beracha Levatala. So that means, one more time, the Halacha Brura is adding that nowadays, even for Torah Shebal Peh, you would still need to do it, even if you don't understand a thing. But adds the Yakut Yosef in English here in the bottom, right? That again is Rabbi Tan that he's saying, no, but he had to make sure to mention, and he forgot to mention, that he still has to do immediately Birkat Kohanim. That's our minhag, but we do immediately right after Birkat Torah, Birkat Kohanim. What do we do Birkat Kohanim? In order that you're Yotzei Chovah immediately, with Torah Shebichtav, that you're going to be Yotzei Chovah, the Ben Ish Chai actually added a Mishnah in order to do Torah Shebal Peh as well. After Birkat Kohanim. That means there's a special thing on the Ben Ish Chai, that after Birkat Kohanim, you would add in a Mishnah, I don't remember which one, in order to add in that you have Torah Shebichtav and Torah Shebal Peh. So the Birkat Torah went on both immediately. You understand? But that's just the way that he did it. Other texts of Kabbalah, although the act of reciting the Zohar HaKadosh is considered Torah even without understanding, this does not apply to other texts of Kabbalah, such as the teachings of the Oziel HaKadosh, of Shalom, the Rabbi, right? One must not recite the blessings of a Torah study intending to read such texts without understanding, unless he makes sure to first say the Birkat Kohanim. Okay. Number 67 was on what we just mentioned before, that it says here.
What does that mean? Mulin.
No, Mahari Mulin, that's his name. The name. Moelim. It's the name of the person.
Mulin?
Moelim.
No, but here, 67.
No, sorry. I thought you were on the bottom of the, Mahari Mulin. Sorry, mulling over a Torah subject. We're going to see now what it is. Right?
What does that mean?
Mulling is usually. Halacha Zayin says it is not necessary to say Birkat Torah before thinking about Torah subjects, and it's permissible to concentrate such objects in your mind even before saying Birkat Torah. After saying the Berachot, though, people must make sure to recite the traditional Pesukim or to read aloud the Torah text that they are actually studying. So let's see. Mulling over a Torah subject. The Bet Yosef cites an Agur, that it is permissible to think about Torah even before saying Birkat Torah, because you don't need a bracha for thinking. Thinking is not equal to saying it. Obviously, we're going to learn that the Gaon Vilna argues on this, yeah? And he says, and just so the one can often fulfill Kriyat Shema by just thinking about it, right? And this is ruling Tosfot with the opinion of Chasta and the Gemara and everything. So the same thing, somebody that's impure, right? Let's say he's got whatever it is, that he can't study Torah with this, but he could think about it, just like he thinks the words of Shema. And the Gaon. This is going to be the famous Gaon. The Gaon argues on Maran. So the Gaon Vilna, Rav Eliyahu, the Gaon Vilna, right, says in his gloss in the Shulchan Aruch, Rav Eliyahu Vilna argued and he said the thinking of the Torah is just like a mitzvah as saying it out loud. And he brings a proof from the Agita Bo Yom HaMalayla. The Agita is Hegyon Libi, Hegyon, it's in your heart. Hegyon Libi. Hegyon Libi lefanecha. What's in my heart should be in front of you. So therefore, the same thing, V'agita bo yom v'layla, that's what you have to learn in the morning and the nighttime. What's V'agita? It doesn't say V'amarta, V'dibarta. It says V'agita. V'agita is in the mind. So therefore he says it should be in the mind. The Nishmat Adam countered that the Gemara's source of obligation to say the Torah is Kishem Hashem Ekra, when I call out the name of Hashem. So therefore this is specifically speaking about, right, what? Calling out. So you cannot call out to others in your mind, meaning I cannot, unless you do telepathy or whatever it is, I cannot call you in my mind. I say, hey, Chaim, I just called you. Well, when? It was in my mind. Well, you understand?
They just implanted the first chip.
Yeah, they just didn't know. Yeah? Correct or not? Yeah, our sages did not institute a blessing for the mitzvah fulfilled through thinking, since an onlooker does not know that you're doing a mitzvah. So the Nishmat Adam noted that the text of the bracha by Ashkenazi Jews is also la'asok b'divrei Torah, not al divrei Torah. We do la'al divrei Torah. They do la'asok b'divrei Torah. To engage. To engage is much more than to think or meditate, right? But again, the pasuk that the Gaon Vilna said ve'agita b'yom v'layla means Hashem told Yoshua to continue thinking about Torah even in situations when you cannot actually speak it, such as in battle or whatever it is. So you should continue thinking it, but not that that's the way it is. The Torah words should always be fluent in your mouth, right? Furthermore, the plain meaning of the word ve'agita is you shall speak. Although Rav Eliyahu didn't demonstrate from other psukim, right, that this word refers to thinking, it is likely that this is true only when the word refers to the heart, such as hegyon libi, then it's thinking. Right, but he comes and he says, but there's other several words that hege means speaking. Ulshoni tehege tzidkecha, pi tzadik yege chochma. Right, lo yegug bigrunam. Right, kimoim osem. Right, ve'agita libi, right, ve'agita libi tvunot. These are other ones. Right, lev tzadik yege kisher. So that means basically it all depends that when the word lev is added to it, so then the word hagayon or hegita means in your mind. But if there's no lev added to it, lev is the heart. If there's no word of lev added to it, so then it just means to talk also. Okay? The response of Binyan Olam challenged the Nishmat Adam's argument, right? First argument by quoting Rashi and Berachot that says, Kishem Hashem Ekan Avogodol Eloheinu. He says there we're talking about, according to his interpretation, the verse is not describing how to fulfill the mitzvah at all. And he doesn't tell you how to do it. So if maybe it is even in your mind. And the Rishon LeZion countered that the Nishmat Adam drew his proof from the interpretation of Rabbi David Badaham, the Maharsha, and the Sefer Charedim, who all write that when it says Kishem Hashem Ekra, it means that it's the act of studying Torah out loud. Regarding the meaning of the term Hege, the Binyan Olam argued that we say quite the opposite, that the term always means thinking, unless the Torah specifies that it means that you're talking, right? Meaning like this, there's a machloket here. What is the word Hege? Hege means to think, and sometimes it means to speak, or it means to speak, and sometimes it means to think. What we wanted to say beforehand was, really, be'emet v'agita means to speak. And when you have the word live, it means to think. Now he's saying the exact opposite. Say, no, really, be'emet, the word v'agita or higayon is always means in the mind, right? In the heart, in the mind. Okay? So it must be concluded that the term refers to both thinking and speaking, unless, otherwise. And therefore, the Gaon Vilna was correct, that if it could also mean thinking, listen, you're thinking in Torah. The Rishon LeZion adds that there is no doubt that the ideal manner of Torah study is to speak the words, just like the Gemara says that when you speak it, you remember it more, right? And that's what gives you life. Although Ravina ruled that thinking is equal, he agreed that obviously the best way is to actually say it. So why is it so important to speak the words when it's possible to study Torah by reading the text without pronouncing anything? So he says, is because it's not enough simply just to learn the information. You have to learn in order to remember. And in order to learn it to remember, it's usually, the Maran Rubin says that when you say it out loud, you remember it more. Okay? Our sages actually speak us. It was really about someone who does not actually speak out as learning, that it's like a woman who goes through all the efforts of pregnancy and birth, and then the child dies, and she has to bury the child. So imagine the comparison. In a sense, it's like a mamash comparison. There's another reason also by tefillah, by the way. By tefillah, there's an extra concept that you should say it out loud, because when you say it out loud, you have more kavanah. Why? Because many times people come and they say something quietly and they're eating up words or they're not really saying it properly. And then all of a sudden they say it out loud and you're like, oh, well, you're like, what's going on here? You sound like and many times you see it. Yeah. The Levush concur with the Shulchan Aruch, explaining that our Chachamim never instituted a beracha for something in the mind, and therefore obviously you do not have to make a beracha. Right? Although there are poskim who rule that we do make a beracha for a mitzvah, bitul chametz, and that means the beracha is in your mind, really. Bitul chametz is done in your mind. So you're saying it, but really, it's done in your mind. But regarding the mitzvah of truma, the halacha allows an owner to do it also, even if it doesn't actually say anything. So the whole thing. But in practice, So the Ben Ish Chai and the Kav HaChaim both ruled that it's permissible to think about Torah learning even beforehand. That means basically the Ben Ish Chai and the Kav HaChaim, like Maran. The Meored Yeshenim ruled that even that we should avoid the thinking in Torah as well, just like the Gaon Vidna. But Manajid Shalom Tzion said no, that you could continue just like the Ben Ish Chai and the Kav HaChaim and the Maran. The Mishnah Berurah did bring down the Gaon, that it's forbidden to think about it. And then he says, and then he comes and he says that, but he did not say that according to Rav Eliyahu, you must say the bracha and proceed to study Torah in the mind. Is because that Rav Eliyahu commented on brachot that Rav Vidna never ruled differently than a blessing, right, is needed for thinking, only that it might be needed. Okay, and the Shelat Yaakov, he said that they had a tradition that the Gaon Vidna always used to make the bracha the moment he woke up to make sure he didn't think of any Torah study beforehand. And this implies that once he recited the bracha, he did, he thought about everything and he did everything. And again, even without saying Birkat Kohanim. So the Divrei Mordechai comes and he said that no, the Gaon Vidna would not have recited the blessings in order just to think. And for sure he did Birkat Kohanim as well. Okay, fine. Then it says here, if someone wakes up in the middle of the night and he wants to go back to sleep, can he think about Torah subjects until he dozes off or not? There's a rumor that the Khatam Sofer suggested, right, that in this case one may think the words of Torah before, right, meaning before beginning to think about the Torah, right? That okay. He says here one may think the words of the blessing before doing it. See the comments of Minchat Yitzchak and also the B'tchei Tshuvot, but the Sephardic Jews, they rely on Shulchan Aruch and they could think about whatever they want even without the brachot. Make sense? Fine. The last halakha in the number 68 on the bottom. So 68, the Kav HaChaim commented that if someone recited the blessings of a Torah study and then spoke about mundane subjects before he begins studying Torah, it could be a bracha l'Torah, because he made like a hefsek. And the Shulchan Aruch wrote that one must avoid any interruption. If the person recited the children Birkat Kohanim, so then there's no problem. Because once he did Birkat Kohanim, that's it. You'd say Yidei Chovah.